what we want to do is talk to you a little bit about some resources that are available in order for you to contact your local tribal community if that's something you've never done before. And the first thing we wanted to talk about is, do we want to touch on this or we're going to go straight to Goya?
Let's go to Goya.
Okay, to talk about Goya, which is the Governor's Office of Indian Affairs. Okay? Goya has a marvelous website, which if you have slow school computers will take you about 11 hours to download. But if you do it at home, they have a wonderful database which has all sorts of information available to you. So this is their website. If you've never seen it before, I highly encourage you to go ahead and take a look at it. And it has a couple of tools for you. One that's much more macro, which is simply to show you a map of where tribes are located within, the federally recognized tribes are located within the state of Washington. So it's going to show you reservation boundaries and show you, so if you live in Yelm and you just showed up here and you have no idea of what the local tribes are in the Yelm area, then you would look and you'd see Nisqually is right down the street, and you can see Chehalis is pretty close and Puyallup is pretty close, and it's going to give you somewhat of a roadmap of where tribal areas are located. So beyond that, probably the more important area is the database of Washington State Tribal Directory, and this is a PDF I was telling you takes some time and some patience to upload, but once you get there, it gives you a list of tribe by tribe of where the tribes are located, where their offices are, and then the people who you're probably going to want to talk to, who is their educational liaison. Okay? In our case, in Nisqually, it's Ken Tuckfield. So when I want to contact somebody at the Nisqually tribe to see if they can come in and share with our school, I either go through a family member of a child I have in class, or I call Ken Tuckfield and say, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm interested in. Can you see if there's anybody available who might be willing to come in and talk? And so then he can get in contact with members of the tribal community. It's really, we'll talk a little bit more, I think, at a later time about sort of the process of contacting people in the tribe.
What's nice about this document is that when you're online, the link is live. So if you go to the website, it takes you right to the tribal site. This is where you might go first as a teacher. As a trainer, one of the things that you should do is you should be talking with your district about this curriculum, about your status as a trainer, and so you will get that administrative buy-in that we were talking about earlier, that Cynthia was talking about. And so for you to then be able to, as a teacher, to be able to go to your local tribal websites and learn, in their words, their past, present, and future, then that is going to go a long way as well.
Okay, and so one of the things that is on our little outline here is the sentence, perseverance pays off, and that relates to just understanding that for most of us, myself included, this is not a short process to gain a trust relationship with a local tribe. It's not something where you can cold call somebody 2 days before you want somebody in to show off drum making skills or something like that, or weaving, or whatever the case may be, and say, hey, could you come in? I'm doing this class thing. We'd love to have you. Thank you very much. In general, because of a lot of factors, tribes are sometimes very wary of teachers and of school districts, and there's been a somewhat unpleasant history of government schools with elders in the tribe and whatnot, and there may be a pretty long history of animosity with public education in your tribe. And so just from a personal basis, I know in the Yelm School District, in Yelm Community Schools, there are some hard feelings. There has been a tradition of some hard feelings about the public schooling system in conjunction with the Nisqually. And so I have a lot of students who show up with a pretty distrustful relationship. And when you're trying to invite people into your classroom, you need to be cognizant that there may not be a positive relationship between the tribe, or there may be a history of a negative interaction between your school district and the tribe. And that takes a lot of work. Okay? Just as when we were getting this process off the ground and meeting with tribal representatives several years ago, we went into the tribal center in Nisqually, and there was an incredible map on the wall that was the traditional place names around Mount Rainier and the Nisqually, the traditional usual and custom homelands. And so we thought that that would be a tremendous thing to get into our classrooms. And so we called it was the person who predated Ken Tuckfield there and said, we'd really love to have that map for Pacific Northwest history. Is there any way that we could get our hands on it? So, well, maybe we'll have to talk about it, but here's the person who created that map. Why don't you give her a call? So it was at a state agency, and so I gave the woman a call. I don't recall her name anymore. Said, hey, is there any possibility that you have extra copies of that map that you could maybe give to Washington State history teachers in the Elm School District? And she said, well, maybe. I just have to clear it with the tribe, and so I'll get back to you. And so then she called, and then I got a phone call from her that said, well, would you be available to meet at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday at the tribal offices for whatever they want to talk to you about, what the purpose may be for that map or how you're going to use it? And, well, I'm in class. Is there any other time that we could maybe meet? And, well, not really. That's when they meet, and so you'd need to make a way to get in. So, I mean, it was not an easy process even to get a map for the classroom. And that wasn't anybody's fault. It was a process. We had to build that relationship, and I didn't have a relationship with the people who would be able to give me that information. And until that was built, which just taken 2+ years, that was not going to be available to me. Okay, so it can be a long process. I've been lucky enough to have the McLeods in my school district are a prominent family in Nisqually, and they've been in my classroom, and so I have easy contact with their parents who have contact with people at the tribal level, and so that's sort of greased the wheels. But if you don't have those relationships, then that may be a lengthy process. And I guess what I'm saying to you is it's worth it. Okay, it is worth it to create those contacts. It is something that is important. It's important to the students in your classroom, whether native or non-native, that you have that voice coming in from your local tribe to enrich your classroom. Okay, so Goya is a great place to start. Make sure that you're trying to establish those contacts, but don't be, well, a couple things. Number one, don't email. Okay, make a personal contact. Let them know that you're not just sort of offhandedly trying to establish a relationship, but show them that you are truly interested by talking to them person to person. Okay, so yeah, please.
Another thing that we recommend is, excuse me, is that you don't embark on this journey yourself. Is that you are enlisting the help of your district admin to be able to help you with this, because chances are you're in Western Washington, you're going to have a title program director, you're going to have an Indian Ed program director, you're at least going to have a curriculum director. And it is through that person that we recommend you make those contacts. Because as Jerry said earlier, when it's just, kind of a teacher calling up, it's different. I mean, because I think that tribes have had that, the well-meaning teachers calling, but realizing that the knowledge that they share with them stays in that curriculum or disappears as soon as that teacher leaves the district, and their efforts then are just for naught. And so when you have that district representative making those phone calls with you or for you, chances are you're going to get a much better response. And we have this outlined for, and this would also be a handout that you would have in your packet of materials to give your participants. So what you will be downloading is this document here, is things to consider when partnering with a local tribe. And the introduction and the recommendations Jerry has already explained to you. So as a trainer, you shouldn't be reading this to your participants. That's not a great use of either of your times, but to be able to summarize and try to alleviate those fears about developing that relationship and who makes the initial contact and are they going to like me. Those are alleviated definitely. And so we have in this handout some suggested ways that the tribes can assist you in teaching. And then we also have outlined a little bit in more detail some of the history that you might be coming up against as you work with the tribe, stemming from government schools to inaccurate histories to marginalization. And then we talk about then developing that initial contact and making sure that it's not just with one person, either at your district or with the tribe, because elections happen and leadership changes. And so if you have a leadership change, you might find yourself having to start over from square one. So making sure that you are in communication with more than just one individual. And then we have Jerry's recommendations, starting way ahead of time, contacting your own district's personnel, preparing for the journey, going to Goya to visit those websites, tribal museums, local cultural center websites, and knowing the names and the people of the departments. That's where the Goya Tribal Directory comes in. And then if your person doesn't, if your district doesn't have a person, then again, you go through Goya, and then the recommendation for phone calls, and offering to visit the tribal offices rather than inviting them to come to the school or school district. Tribes are most often very, very proud of their facilities, just like this grand one we have here. And to be able to show that respect and offer to meet tribes in their offices will go a long way. And emphasizing that you're teaching with, not just about, and be persistent, and as Jerry was talking about, be prepared for those difficult conversations.